Thank you very much for receiving us. How should I address you? Is that Bob, Robert,
Bob,
Mr. De Niro,
Bob's fine, yeah.
Roberto,
Bob.
Beto?
Whatever.
Thank you very much for this. Please tell us a little bit about the genesis of this project. I understand it's been a long time since you, for the first time, had the book on your hands.
Yeah, Marty and I had, we were working on another project about an aging hitman who's retired, who lives on the West Coast, California. And we had wanted to do a movie for a long time because we had films from since Casino, but they never could happen, they never worked out. So we finally got a project, maybe 12, 13, 14 years ago, this project about the aging hitman, and so it's finally ready to go. And Marty started showing me old film clips, like a Jean Gabin movie in black and white, the style. He was thinking blah, blah, blah. And then I said, I have to read this book that I spoke to Eric Roth about a few years earlier when it came out, because called I Heard You Paint Houses. And then I read, I said, because this could be good material there for us, research-wise. He was a hitman, this guy, blah, 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 blah. So I read it, and when I did read it, I said, Marty, you should read the book, because I think you'll see why this is probably better for us.
And what did you find in the book that you liked?
Well, it was more, it was written, you could tell that, I could tell, Marty could tell that it was real, the way he was talking, the circumstances he described. And it also had historical characters like Jimmy Hoffa, even Joe Gallo, and some other people, the Kennedys to a degree. It just had a size to it that felt more right for my character, felt more right, the Hoffa character for Al Pacino, and the Russell Buffalino character for Joe Pesci. And Marty directing it, it just felt so much better.
What was it about Frank Sheeran that touched you?
His story was, and it's also about aging, and in the book, I mean, I won't give away the ending, I guess, but it's written that way in the book. Not the ending of the book, but maybe it is, I can't remember, but that's the image that you see of Frank at the end of the story is written in the book. I thought that was great.
Then it is you, it is Martin Scorsese, it's Al Pacino, it's Joe Pesci. You cannot go wrong if you have that on your hand, right? No? It's like going to Vegas and get a full hand.
Well, there's always something that could go wrong. There's so many moving parts that to get it all together.
Was it easy to have him on board?
Well, no, Joe was fine. He was just, he only wanted to do, people say he retired, but he just wasn't interested in doing anything unless he really he liked it. And so this we were talking about for years, and finally, he said he'll do it, and I said, you have to do it with us. He loves Marty, and we're close. So, who knows if we'd have another chance to do something like this. So that's what it was. But it took a while to get it in place, and then with Netflix finally coming in, that helped it a lot. I mean, it would have been done no matter what, in this maybe a simpler way than what it was. Marty had other ideas of how to do it, but this we were very happy that Netflix stepped in and just made it easier for us.
What do you think it happened that it took you so long to make it? Because it was a long film? Because
you mean so long to make it when we shot, or so long?
No, since you had the idea. I understand
point.
It was like 10 years or so, right?
It was maybe, I looked at the book when I write down the dates of when I start reading a lot of stuff, and it was 2007 that I read the book.
12 years.
Yeah, and so that we were working before on this other project, maybe another, getting it in place, getting it set. Hitman, right? Yeah, about a year or so, or getting it in place, and then finally.
Why do you think it took so long?
It just takes long. Marty had other projects, he had other movies, he had Hugo, he had Wolf of Wall Street, then he wanted to do Silence before. That was his labor of love, of another type of project, and so he had to do that, and and finally everybody else getting in place. It just takes time.
And do you think that is what really happened? Some people, some historians have placed doubts in terms of if what Frank Sheeran is telling the truth or not.
I don't know. I mean, I believe the book. I believe that's what very likely could have happened. If there's someone else who comes with a better answer, a more real answer, a more concrete, a proven answer, that's great. We were doing the movie based on Frank's story. We felt Charlie Brad, who told to Charlie Brad in the book, this was special for what it was. We're not claiming to give the emis, as they say, give the truth, the absolute truth about what wasn't that. We weren't doing. We were doing it his story.
Not a documentary.
No, it wasn't a documentary.
How did you prepare yourself to play this complex role of Frank Sheeran?
Well, there was a lot of tape, audio tape, and some videotape on him. I talked to Charlie Brad, who was great.
The author of the book.
The author, because he had spent many years with Frank. He originally Frank was aware of him in court as an adversary, and then he liked him, and this is the way I remember it. And so he picked him out, to work for him or represent him sometime. So Charlie was a big help, and here and there a relative or so, people who knew him, but that's it.
Do you feel empathy with him?
Well, I think, some of the things that were attractive to us was the aging thing. We're all getting older, not like you're a kid, but we're all getting older, and that's just life. So to deal with that, to deal whether he's a gangster, hitman, whatever, that's still part of life for everybody. So that was a nice element to have in there. And what was the other thing you asked me? I wanted to answer.
Yeah, the empathy. If you
and his situation, as I say, could be anybody. The fact that he was a hitman, yes, of course, but that doesn't make him any less sympathetic or empathetic, I would say. As a person, he had all those. He was able to separate those two. Maybe not. He felt a lot of guilt as far as what he had done in the Hoffa situation and so on, and guilt probably ultimately, whether he was conscious of it, but unconscious guilt, subconscious guilt about that sort of thing. I'm sure it weighed on him in some way doing that. I don't see how it couldn't have.
And what do you think about your own legacy, your own life through this character? Do you think about it when you were preparing to play the character?
Well, I'm just happy we were able to make the movie, and that it was received as well as it was. I think that's great. As far as being able to work with Marty, that's great. To have worked all these years with him on projects is a very special thing to be able to have done with him. So that.
While watching the movie, it made me think there's a huge debate now in Mexico how to address criminality, how to address these big criminals we have here, the drug cartels, as you know. Is it with hugs and comprehension, or is it with the use of force, the legitimate use of force that the state is entitled to? What do you think?
I don't know. The situation here is...
No, just as a general thought.
No, I mean, I think it's you have to, when people are criminals, they have to be dealt with accordingly. Unfortunately, that's the only way. You can't do it with hugs. A person could be criminal and do criminal things, but still like to get hugged too. But if they do a criminal thing, they have to go to jail or pay the price, whatever that is. In the world of Frank Sheeran, it's a little harsher. You could get killed. And so I don't see an easier. People have to be held accountable, like our president.
Mm-hmm. I'll get to that.
Yeah, okay.
Because you've said Trump is a gangster. I want to finish with that.
He is a gangster. Huh? He thinks he's a gangster.
Just let me make a couple of stops before we get there. Rodrigo Prieto, the cinematographer. How was working with it? It's our national pride.
Yeah, Rodrigo was great. He was terrific. Just terrific. A very sweet guy, great to work with. Couldn't ask for a better situation.
Amazing. And how was the youthification process? Because you played different ages during the movie. And for what I hear, they had this technology about placing a helmet on you, but Marty Scorsese said Bob is not going to wear that ever,
well,
so you better come up with something better.
Yeah, he was right. Not that we wouldn't do it, but it would be very uncomfortable, and Joe wouldn't be comfortable, Al wouldn't be comfortable, and the other actor, you know, the three of us mainly, it would be, we had to find a simpler way to do that, and we did with Pablo Hellman and ILM. So it was not an intrusion or an interference or a nuisance.
What would did they put anything
little silver kind of speck silver things here, maybe a piece of makeup, very subtle, that you don't even notice. And that's what those were their reference points that they could work with.
But then you had to like act and stand up in a different way.
Well, that's different, standing up and doing physical stuff. If you're we had a guy named Gary Tacone who was a a movement coach or whatever. I forget the name we had, to make sure that, like, if I'm sitting too slouched, tap me on the back and say, hey, you're 39 here, not like your age. So he did that with me and Al.
How did that feel?
Felt okay. How's it gonna feel? You have to be a little more, try and physically be a little more young, a little more spry. For example, once I was going down the stairs and I was a little more tentative going down the last 2 steps. And he said, no, when you're young, you got to like just kind of bounce down the stairs. I said, yeah. So he showed me, and I said, yeah, of course. So that I had to do that.
Okay, Donald Trump. You think he's going to win the re-election?
It's very, very concerning or disconcerting, because he's holding now. We have the hearings today, and everybody's kind of like dancing around the truth. The truth is right there, and so they have to find every different way to find him guilty of what he's done. He's done it. He has tried to shake down the Zelensky in Ukraine, and we have Taylor, we have Hill or Kent there corroborating all this, and other.
Do you think he'll get away with it?
I don't see how he can get away with it. We'll see.
Republicans apparently back him very strongly, and there's not like a fracture there.
Yeah.
And they need like 20 Republicans to vote against him. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
It could very well that he would get away with the official impeachment. He would be, but we would get very close to it. Kind of, I guess, the way Clinton was. He wasn't fully impeached in the sense of removed from office, unless Trump realizes that he has no out and he might resign the way Nixon did. But I don't know that I think he's the kind of person that would, even at the end, if marginally he lost, he would say the system is rigged, and so I want to recount, or so he'll do something that's just contentious, and the way he is.
There are fears that if he gets away with the impeachment and he wins the impeachment, then he'll become more strong facing the election and actually have a better position on the polls.
I don't know about that. I hope that people who see him will realize, the people who are on the fringe of his base will realize that he's not, see him for what he is. I don't understand how people who are behind him vote for him. You know, I could have a crazy uncle living in my house, and we all listen to him. We say, you know, he's crazy. You know, maybe some advice here and there. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to allow him to make a decision that's going to impact the family. And the country is doing this. It's nuts.
Who do you like to face him on the election?
Excuse me?
Who would you like to face him in the election?
Well, who I would like, Buttigieg is young, he's very good, and I like Bloomberg because he's an adult and he's run a city for 12 years. He knows how to run a company, and he's done good things, decisive things for the city. Not everybody is happy with him. He had a stop and frisk thing that was, people felt were not happy with that, but I think those are things that can be moderated or whatever, or worked on or addressed with him. I think he sees what a terrible situation we're in, and he figures, what else am I going to do with all my money but jump in there and try and save the day? And hopefully he will. We need anybody but Trump. So Biden is there.
Elizabeth Warren?
But he might not. I don't know. But he's like the kind uncle who is there. You rely on him for decisions. He's going to do the right thing, or try and do it. His intentions are good, but whether he'll make it because of how strong he is.
Do you think Democrats are doing a good job in terms of getting the impeachment done in the way it is being done, in terms of picking someone to face him from a strong position?
You have to find a person who will stand up to him and be strong, and that the people see right there, right in his face, because he's the kind of person that needs to be humiliated in front of everybody. He's got Buttigieg is he hasn't debated him, but he's very dismissive of it in an elegant way, and he's really terrific, and Bloomberg can do the same, and a lot of the other candidates are good. But it's like casting. You got to find somebody who's going to stand up to him, and be smart and have the right answers, knowledgeable answers, educated answers, and put him in his place.
What do you think about his behavior with the press? The fact that there is the president that constantly criticizes the press, not only criticizes, but bullies the press.
Despicable, deplorable. I don't know if he knows, if he's smart enough, if his reasons are because he's smart, or he just does it because he knows it's an angle. I mean, this is a guy that called the tabloids and talked about himself as if he was his press agent. He called Forbes magazine to say that he's a billionaire or something. He's totally crazy. This guy is our president. And there are some people that still, you know, they follow him because they don't care about that. They know he's crazy. They know it's still what, you know, we are against the other side. And I think, well, you know, this is about right and wrong. This is about the country. If he ever became president again, if he gets reelected, we're going to have a real problem in the country.
One last question. What do you hear about Mexico? What do you think about what's going on in Mexico?
All I hear is from him about the wall. He's such an idiot. I liked Vincent Fox, what he used to say to him before. I don't know where he stands politically in the country now, but I like that he was so offended by Trump's nonsense a few years ago. You know.
Do you enjoy when Trump talks about you?
No, he's too stupid. Even his comments are stupid. I'm punch drunk. That's a dumb thing to say.
Thank you very much for this time. And I hope you have
a
great
cold. I'm like,
no, don't worry.
Just out of it.
I hope you have a great time in Mexico.
Thank you.
And you eat our food,
drink Mexican food is the best.
I know, and drink our mezcal or tequila, whatever you want. Yeah. Congratulations for this place.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was an honor.